Welcome back, friends, to Occultists Anonymous, sponsored by Roll20, The Onyx Path, and viewers like you. Thank you very much to everybody who follows, supports, subscribes, everything like that. And a very special shout out, because I have this list, to all our patrons who support us monetarily. Thank you very much for throwing a few dollars our way. And my new favorite, you're all my favorite, subscriber who said, hey, here's $50. It's just one-time donation because I like you guys and you're awesome. It's like, hey, cool. We will totally take that. Thank you. But starting with hashtag NoPixelStream when. All right, let's be real, guys. I ain't playing NoPixel anymore. Adele, if you don't know what that was, don't worry about it. Anyways, Adele, Alan, Mike, oh no, Alexander, Angfalith, Bernie. See, this is what happens. I just get in the habit. Anyways, Blood Angel, Brendan, Buck Farmer, Daniel, Doc the Undead, Doggo DeLune, Emil, Funzu Suro Ali, George, Jack, Jenny, John, Josh, Julian, Cat Feathers, Crazy Man 1772, Masti Go Dancer, Michael, Milo V3, Ms. Grumpy, Mogu, Mozart D Minor, Noba, Ominous Patron number 13, Other Michael, Perry, Perry, Philip, Puppeteer, Riafio, Ryan, Cheksara, Cinna, Talk to the Chthonian, Terran, Thomas, Toast, Usuf Sama, Vortex, and Zoltan. There's a couple new and removed names in here, and I was completely thrown. Thank you all for your support. That's what I get for just like, oh yeah, I'll just cruise on habit. Oh, wait, no. There's new names here. Yeah, all right. So we pick up.
Be careful, baby.
With our coven. Having just finished up a little conversation with the Diamond Order folks who have come to visit and not steal Rilla away, but to see if they can get, hey, we can take care of her. And the prompt was put forward before them of the coven, hey, she should come with us, we can protect her. But if you all are adamant and she doesn't want to go, she doesn't have to. They're not going to actually try and take her away, as opposed to the Seers. There's definitely some heavy-handed, hey, we got knowledge, we got power, we got numbers, we can take care of her. And the Witch Coven was very adamant about, we can take care of her too, but this is Rilla's decision. And so I rolled in the background and made some thinking thoughts, and yes. So Rilla does decide within the first couple weeks thereafter I'm going to stay. This is my place. Couple of things that go into that decision. One, not immediately, the next day or two, Mr. Mortimer Bethune basically says, it's time to go. The shadow that he has watched, the astrovoidal, is no longer in the sky. It's no longer visible from Purgatory Bluff. So he's ready to move on. He has this new chart that he and Jules worked up thanks to, I can't remember which one of you suggested it. Yeah, that it's actually a fixed point in space, as opposed to following some pattern. It is following a pattern, but it's based off a whole different other concept. It's like, oh, okay, and so let's go chase that. The second major thing that happens after some initial few days of, the next day, Jules, for whatever reason, never runs into Mortimer for an entire day. Just keeps missing him, bypassing him. Just for whatever reason, they keep missing each other. They even look after and like, hey, they leave messages for each other at the tavern. Hey, I'll be here at this time, and come to find each other. And they just keep missing each other by fate.
Gisela.
Gisela had it set up. And yeah, so there's a lot of just coordination and just, it doesn't work. Jules isn't intentionally avoiding Mortimer. Mortimer is definitely looking for Jules, but they just never cross paths. For an entire day, during which Jules has time to think over what he's doing. He's been warned, hey, staying around Mortimer is going to ruin you. And by happenstance and hearing about Mortimer's decision that, hey, I'm going to need to move on. That's the whole reason Mortimer and Jules are, hey, we got to get together. Let's figure out where we're going. Rilla, too. Let's leave. Let's pack up. Jules realizes, I'm not interested in chasing after this guy's white whale. Like, it was interesting. It was a great experience, taught him a lot of things, but it's not his passion in life. So I'm going to go my own way. So the following day, Jules is able to kind of walk up to Mortimer and say, shake his hand, Mr. Bethune, thank you, but, you'll have to go on without me. Royal Society doesn't need me. It's not my thing. Mortimer and Jules have a rather loud argument in the tavern. A lot of, you're throwing away your potential. What are you going to do here? Blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, yeah, bye. Now, you all determine later, actually very likely by Legba's potential interrogation, that Mortimer may have been nudged a little bit. His thoughts kind of riled up a little bit and made a little bit more aggressive by way of mind magic. Oh, whoa. And somebody nudging him into being a little bit more aggressive, which made Jules defensive and say, you know what? This isn't for me. Bye-bye. Somewhere, Red gives a wink to Gisela. And like, all right, we're going to save this boy from himself rather than being dragged along by this, I'm not going to say famous, but infamous scientist. So Jules decides, I'm going to stay here for a little bit and, then decide where I'm going to go. A little bit ends up turning out to be a lot of bit, but we'll get to that. The next major thing that happens shortly after Rilla's decision, hey, bye, Mortimer. Mortimer leaves in a huff because, hey, my staff just left and I have to pack all this by myself. Fine. Okay, whatever. And lo and behold, a gentleman who newly arrived in town, one Father Gibson, speaks with the priest in town and kind of coordinates with the pastor across the street, and then talks with Warner Enright, and the Purgatory Bluff school is decided to be opened as soon as they find a teacher. Rilla kind of steps forward and says, well, I have a considerable education and I have a love for kids and, I can educate. Okay, sure. Why not? How fortuitous that you decided to stay. And there's some more winking between the acanthus. To speed things along a little bit, well, actually, not speed things along too much. I think in the few days after, and by the way, sorry, as I'm narrating through this, if I've got your guys' list of stuff that happens, if I happen to skim over something, or you're like, "Ooh, this would be a good time for my character to be doing this thing," please interject. But the house is built for Miss Theodosia and Catherine Moody. I can remember Catherine's last name, but I can't remember Theodosia Stokes. And yes, it is a bit of a barn raising. It's an interesting ordeal that when it first happens, like the only people out there are basically the cult, and the miners, the Maroons. And it's basically, it's a big organized effort led by Sanite, with Cloak kind of sitting back, hands in pockets, kind of, all right, yeah, you got this. Excuse me, not Sanite, Mambo Stars, if I remember correctly. Let me pull. Don't where's my notes. Oh no, is this not in here? Oh, there it is. Mambo. Yeah, never mind. I'm not gonna try. Ralph, could you give her full name?
Yes, absolutely. Do I remember it off the top of my head?
It's in our little thread.
There we go. Let me go do it again. Sorry, y'all. I will pronounce it. Tell everybody what it is.
It's like Moniki. Yeah, no, I ain't even gonna try. I took
I'm just loving
Spanish.
the map. Yeah, I absolutely know that name.
What
It's a very
is
awesome
she?
name, and it's really good, and I'm going to pronounce it for you right away. Just a moment. And
Yeah, it is. La main qui attrape les étoiles filantes.
Or
The hand that catches falling stars.
Mambo Stars.
Or Mambo Stars for short. Mambo Étoile.
And she takes over a little bit of leadership, and just over the next few weeks, Cloak kind of steps back from leadership. Is still involved with Maroon, still involved in the mine. Just leadership seems to shift over to Mambo Stars. Starting with the building of the Moody Stokes homestead.
Mhm.
And it's built, rather not necessarily large, but comfortable enough for, you have the two women, they're going to need their own rooms, and then Valosia is going to need a room. But they somehow managed to squeeze Rilla in there too, all squeezing in nice and cozy. Someone's sharing bed, but who knows about that. Once that is set up, Rilla really starts to feel at home. It takes a couple weeks, it's that whole new house thing, but the four of them all gets. Yeah, I know, Chris. I know. Also a little small clap for Chris.
Yay.
But, yeah. So getting set up there. Let me see. If I had set this up in chronological order, these notes would be a lot easier to read. Yes. So for the next month or two, we have a lot of learning for the entire Witch Coven. There is some immediate, let's red flag some stuff. Notably, the Diamond Order, specifically Father Gibson or Jophiel, with the one of the Abrimos. Actually, I take that back. It's probably William and Pierce Powell, the twins, who are Abrimos guardians, who start looking around, put on that prime sight, and go, "There's a lot of signature Nimbus around here," and basically sit you guys down with the lecture of, listen. Casting spells, casting magic, absolutely fine, especially while you're new. But over a long period of time, casting magic on the same subjects in the same area is going to start to cause your nimbus, which they probably actually give you some of the school book terms for a lot of these things, is going to start to wear and rest on some of your townmates, some of the people that you love and care about. There's definitely a not necessarily pointed thing for Gisela, but Gisela and Theo with the actual family members in town. It's hey, you have to be very careful, because if you're not watching out, this stuff can start to rub off on them, have magical effects that are not tied to a specific spell. It's just your self rubbing off on them or rubbing off on areas. So you need to control and kind of guide it and keep it in a contained space. So a lot of emphasis on working whatever magic you can in the Hallow, or I think is the impetus behind Legba setting up the Crossroads. If Ralph, you want to explain what the Crossroads is while I look for the next thing that happens.
Sure. As a physical representation of Legba's commitment to helping the town, he sets up a crossroads he constructs a crossroads that he posts once a week in usually a similar place, but some location kind of in a field near the border of the supernally protected part of town, part of the area. And he imposes, through space magic, a route, a path that people can travel to get there. So provided they have the right intention that they want to improve themselves through hard work and not at the expense of other people, if they leave town shortly before midnight on Saturday, they can reach this spot. And they'll reach this spot and they'll find Legba there with the Crossroads. And of course, there'll be different writing on the Crossroads, depending upon the time. But anyway, when they reach that point, they can engage in an exchange with him. They can request assistance with some tasks they want to perform for their own self-improvement, and Legba will assign them a task in exchange that, unbeknownst to them, will be on somebody else's behalf, for somebody else's betterment, that Legba believes will lead to them developing a positive relationship with someone else in town, so that he, through these actions, can help build positive sympathy between the residents of the town and help people become better versions of themselves.
So sort of a benevolent, needful things.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And I did check. Ralph is too nice of a guy. He's not doing the drifter thing of, I'll give you exactly what you asked for, but you may not like it. No. Apparently Legba is actually a nice guy. He says, only good things for you. And
that's right.
Specifically placing the key on, you can't get here unless you're actually wanting to improve yourself and not necessarily a greedy thing. So it's not something that everybody finds. And there's probably quite a few people who go out to try and find it and never seem to. And they think it's all fake. And meanwhile, other people, oh no, I've met him. I know, like, he's out there. I can't remember where. But if you look, if you need him, you can find the A-Team, Legba.
So of course he won't keep this hidden from the rest of the coven. This is stuff that everybody knows is happening. But he intends it to have a more subtle influence on the sympathy in the town through almost exclusively the actions of the people who are, one, trying to improve themselves, and two, doing things on behalf of the other people.
Yes, Rilla did stay, in case anybody was unclear about that or joining us late. So we have, Legba kind of setting up there. Meanwhile, Baba Sarah is begun using matter magic, and well, yes, we got this lovely little homestead here. It'd be a shame if somebody didn't build an evil safe place underground, using some matter magic to kind of nudge things out of the way and create their own sanctum there. Which brings us around to the other thing that the Diamond Order introduced you to, with some very scowly guardians nearby. And imagine that a lot of this teaching happens in, the shadowy corner of the tavern where people happen to be sharing drinks, or late in the dark, possibly in the mines, kind of thing. They explain what soul stones are. Guardians, not huge fans of it, harming your soul, but admittedly it is a useful thing. And explains to you all how to use them, how to make them, and how they are very, very dangerous should anybody get hold of them. And this also kind of teaching you how to create a domain, and how one can set up and orient a place so that it is safe to do certain types of magic, so that you guys can set up a domain, which I believe is what Baba Sarah sets up in her basement. And what kind of magic is Baba Sarah orienting that place to? And remember, we're talking more on the lines of the type of spells and arcana that you're doing, as opposed to how we were very laid back with it in the rookery. And
I'm not prepared for this question.
Okay, well, we can put a pin in it. You can think.
Yeah, we'll have to put a pin in it. I have to think about it.
Yes.
Someone else makes a soul stone too.
Yes, which definitely gets some looks from the Guardians, but actually, believe it or not, the one who comes up alongside you and goes, "This is an interesting application," and gives you some guidance and some warnings is Father Gibson, the one of the 3 adamantine arrow.
Well, do you want me to say what I do?
Oh yes, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So Isabelle crafts her soul stone into one of her revolvers.
Oh, awesome!
Because if it's a powerful tool and dangerous for anyone else to get, then obviously the thing that's at this point on her person at all times, especially when there's trouble to be going on. Seems like a good thing to do.
Now, a question I have, is it a pistol? Is it both pistols as a pair, or 2 soul stones?
There's 1 soul stone in one of the pistols.
Gotcha.
Because I
Can't
think
make
by
it-
rules kind of has to be that.
I can't make a domain.
And
with
there are
that, though,
plans for the other one.
You could make a domain with it and then take it back down.
You just have to set it up every time.
Yeah, domains aren't permanent. It just takes an hour to set up.
Yeah.
Well, depending on how well you roll.
But
generally an hour.
it kind of depends on, do you want to be able to run back to it and be like, okay, defend myself now in here, or, I'm going to put this up real quick to summon the thing and then move on. Though I guess it costs, is it willpower? Mana? Can't remember which.
Costs
It may cost
mana,
nothing.
I think it's a mana
to set it up.
a
It
domain.
can cost you mana to
Oh, it's a
make the
mana
roll.
per soul stone or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. We're not worried about it. This happened a year ago. But yes, Father Gibson, Adamantine Arrow, comes alongside the Abrimos and starts to talk about, yantras and symbolism, and kind of makes a note that gun's an interesting choice, a dangerous choice, and it, reflects a dangerous person. He doesn't say this with any judgment, necessarily. And he talks about, because he himself doesn't seem to carry any weapons, because he's a good Irish boy, and so he boxes. But he mentions that, the spear is a classic tool, like used to defend or attack. It depends on how you're using it, and a gun can be just as similar. Over on this, I'm trying to remember. Nobody else mentioned a soul stone that I can remember. I know. Well, actually, Baba Sarah did make a soul stone. What did you happen to make? Because I know yours, you plan to be more permanent. What object did you use? Do you know?
Yeah, I was gonna use a lantern.
Just kind of set in like you're down in the basement.
Mhm.
That's super cool. All right.
Yeah, Gisela is not making a soul stone and is probably horrified by the prospect.
Makes sense.
It's just hard no.
Carving up and pulling a piece of your soul out. No thanks.
And now it can be used against you.
If you lose
And-
it.
I guess
No.
we need to roll some dice for that, huh?
Yeah,
ooh,
roll your XP
actually,
to see
that
if
is-
you lose the way
that
I
is
did.
very true. Yes, I knew there was something we needed to do. Yeah. So if both of you would be so kind as to roll 3 dice.
Oh man.
Not even a problem. Well thought out
Smart.
and considered.
Yep.
That's true. Ralph, was Legba making a soul stone? I can't remember.
No.
Okay, cool. Just double checking.
Yep.
Theo
Also-
lost some wisdom in the
Ooh,
process.
Yeah, Theo lost wisdom. Also, this is we had talked about this offline, but the idea of plans, and I think that would be the context in which Legba might consider it, having observed others do it,
Oh, yeah.
and then thinking long term through the possible consequences and whether or not it'd be worth the trade-off.
Mhm.
So
And maybe one of those things to observe. And of course, for Legba doesn't need a domain to enter the astral, so it's less of a
Exactly.
pressure.
Yeah.
Which actually does bring up a little side thing, because I know Legba is visiting the astral quite a bit. We'll get to that because I think that's going to be later in time. But bringing it up, does Baba Sarah basically use her domain now to enter the astral? Okay, cool. And is it one of those like, this is an open invite, you guys are welcome to use this place, or is your little sanctum kind of your place?
That's a tough one. She would let people know that she has it,
Mm-hmm. But it's not an open door policy.
but it's not an open door policy. And like she literally has to, like, she moves the earth aside to get access to it.
cool. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's good. Like there's no sign on the surface that there's anything underneath the house,
Awesome.
Love it.
and like it goes down quite a ways to where the
Something. The Earth King invites you to Lake Logan.
I like it.
So
I like it a lot.
yeah, people would be aware and they might ask for it and stuff, but there isn't an open invitation.
Okay, I like that. Meanwhile, and talking about Gisela being terrified of people doing stuff with souls, Gisela has been just shy of impropriety, hanging around Red a lot, and lots of ethical questions about how fate, how what, and feel free to jump in here. But yeah, obviously, Red helps with getting Jules out of a bad situation, because
yeah, I feel like that's probably the first thing she went to him about, just trying to figure out, okay, well, clearly I fucked up. How do I help him correctly?
yeah.
And they sort of like hash that out.
Yeah, a lot of the ethics of forcing somebody to behave a way versus guiding them, different things like that of, maintaining some level of agency.
Yeah, definitely stepping back into more of an advisory role.
Mm-hmm,
Like, get permission before I start digging around in your futures.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell you things that I think might be good ideas, but then ultimately don't actually try to
Mm-hmm.
pull those threads.
Yeah, or doing
Unless it's absolutely necessary to, like, save your life.
right.
But
Or as Red is very, very fond of doing, hey, this is the thing you want to do? Okay, I will make you lucky. And so you can do that thing. Now, of course, if you decide you want to do something else, the luck may not be there. Which, but that's your decision still. Then, oh yes, I forgot. And then Gisela starts a farm. Starts collecting sheeps or goats or such in the
But yeah, I
pasture.
feel like they already had like had a bit of land.
Oh, yeah.
Just as being folks that have been here in this town for a while. They got in early.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that little garden area, pasture, they got a horse.
Right.
And yeah, she's acquired goats.
Goats for meat, milk, wool, and
Fiber.
fiber. Yeah.
They are fiber goats, so she can spin yarn out of them.
Which provides a little bit of a friendly competition with Baba Sarah.
She's got a loom. She's making fabric.
But she's also picking up.
I am totally content to get sheep and wool from Gisela. That's
Cool.
That's not a problem at all.
Okay. Oh, fine. Let me just throw out 3 different plot hooks about you guys going into this Cold War over cloth.
A
Yarn wars.
War.
that was like an 8-session thing, and just
Theo's virtuous generous, right? So
Right.
she would be totally fine.
right, and especially because you're basically working through Anastasio, and you both are there, which of course means Gisela has to talk to Anastasio. Is like, listen, I like working here, but I got these cows and this thread thing going on, and Jules. All right, take 2. Welcome back, friends, to Occultists Anonymous, where we have technical difficulties on a regular basis. In this case, I lost power, which, like, internet, man, I thought that sucked, and now I'm realizing, YouTube guys, sorry if the video looks weird, because it was probably at a lower resolution than we normally record. Dang, sorry, but everything should be there. So yeah. Yes, Jules picks up a job doing numbers for Anastasio. That literally the last thing I said?
Yes.
Oh, sweet. Okay. All right. Put your home generator on a forces node. Man, if I could,
Yep.
forces
Mhm.
magic.
Ooh, yeah, give me some.
Like, I love me some space, but just a little bit of forces goes a long way. Just saying.
Even just 1 forces is good.
Yep.
Dude, excellent.
All right. Good stuff.
But yeah. I'm totally spending more time at home. I've got to take care of these animals.
You have a business.
Yeah, as my front for I'm definitely doing wizard shit, and I need to not be in the store all the time.
And notably, because you're making your own yarn and then you're actually knitting too, right? It's not just the yarn. Gotcha. So yeah.
Because I wanted to use that as part of her spell casting more.
the very persona yantra kind of thing, which also makes sense with, wait, Arachne? Like, it just fits. Oh, yes, and then obviously working with, as we talked about before, Red, trying to figure out what the hell is going on with Dad and this whole curse thing, which in a list of the Diamond Order going, wait, hang on, what? Red is like, I haven't seen this before. There's a little bit of consultation with Egrock, the Mysterium Moros lady, who, basically sets up shop for a little bit and meditates. And it's very weird to watch because there's no magic. And then, especially your peripheral mage sight that tingles and lets you know, no, she's just hanging out here. And then, yeah, no, we don't know anything about that. You don't know what the fuck she's talking about, but apparently they don't know anything about it. It's definitely one of those, okay, that's not cool. Or maybe it is cool. But yeah,
cool.
They definitely don't recognize what you're describing, at least. And Red basically, yeah, that gives Red an obsession. What the hell is going on with this family? That he kind of pokes and prods at a little bit. We jump over to Theo a little bit here to mention that she's also making clothes, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. So both of them, and which is a really, really nice way of ensuring that Gisela and Theo can meet up anytime. There is a little bit of competition, not between them, though maybe they put it on outwardly, but Arcelia, who actually also makes clothes and dresses and stuff like that, but she's more of a seamstress, so a little less knitting and wool and more of, she gets stuff from New York City and brings in, linen and some stuff like that.
Yeah, and Theo's plan was actually like
already been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And Theo's plan was actually just to make cloth.
Okay, not even clothes.
Yeah, so if there's somebody else already making clothing in the town, then she'll just make cloth for them, so they don't have to get it from New York City.
Yeah, so yeah, you are probably helping out Arcelia, who's your buddy from work, which actually, I guess because I don't have a note here, do you keep working at the tavern, or is at this point, it's the Homestead?
It's the Homestead.
Gotcha.
I still help out if there's like a particular need or something like that, but for the most part, it's all Homestead.
Yeah, well, and at this point, yeah, she's not taking you, Madame Robert is not taking you away from there, and Arcelia is being such a big help now, and which actually jumps us over to Chris and Isabelle, who is also, well, I don't know how much, are you still working there pretty actively? Okay, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, unless something were to change about that.
Right.
Like, it's like a new job or something.
Exactly. Now, this ends up being several months later down the line, and some of this is a Chris thing, and some of this is a me thing, but the adamantine arrow really get along with Isabelle for some reason. Who knows why?
Who would have guessed?
And when, they basically note that she's interested in this kind of sheriff thing, and, kind of word gets around, because Isabelle doesn't just leave it at the one comment to Warner and right. No. It's a continual thing, talking to patrons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it starts to be like, I think from the, like with the new folks in town or something like that, like, especially if the adamantine era folks there, like, are good shots or whatever, like, it starts turning into this whole thing, and like, she starts, opening up of like, yeah, I drove cattle for a little bit before arriving to town. That's how I, survived out there for a while. And that is like, wait, what? But then it's just like, oh yeah, Isabelle's just sitting there like twirling a gun and all right, you want a whiskey or what?
The slow build up of oh yeah, no, more to her than just being pretty face and a flute. And yeah, like I said, the adamantine arrow, now they have a different view of the sheriff than Isabelle does, because Isabelle is doing it more for herself, and this is the thing I would be good at. Where the Adamantine Arrow are like, yes, we need a mage here in town guarding everybody. Oh, this is right up our alley. And yeah, not necessarily
Easy with the philosophy there, boys.
right. But for Isabelle, hey, yeah, and they're there to support, and so yeah, especially because you've got Father Gibson, Adamantine Arrow, Red, Adamantine Arrow, and the Mastigos.
Ponytail?
Ponytail, yes.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Yep. Robert Phillips, the rather quiet Mastigos, who's also
You called him the
Adamantine
troublemaker.
he is a troublemaker, yes, because he's a Mastigos. But yeah, he's also fairly quiet.
They don't all make trouble.
Yeah. But yeah, they're just your definition of trouble.
Press X to doubt.
They don't.
But yeah, so they all seem to, and so you've got two of these miners who keep talking about it amongst the miners, and then you've got Father Gibson, who's got the ear of both religious leaders and Warner and Wright. And yeah, why isn't there somebody to go to when there's trouble and problems and help mediate and protect? Now, I think Isabelle's probably not super huge into the whole mediation thing.
Are you kidding?
Really?
Oh no, it's great.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
Getting to tell people what's going to happen, and
That's fair.
Maybe
Manipulation.
I think that's
a
not
little bit of
technically-
manipulation along the way.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily mediation if you just tell people how it's going to be, but
You convinced them that it was their idea.
True. But yeah, and Warner Enright tends and kind of sets himself up as a magistrate, is the term he uses. And so there's definitely a mom and dad kind of snenario here where it's like, well, we're gonna go talk to Sheriff Isabelle because she does eventually. Like everybody's like, we everybody likes Isabelle, right? Yeah, and she's fair. Yeah, she's a nice lady, and yeah, it turns out she's good with a gun. And there's this development over the course of months, and everyone's like, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. Do you? No, nobody. Everybody likes Isabelle, and so she gets set up as sheriff. Get even a little tin badge. I don't know how often she probably actually wears it, but they do give it to her. Even though she's
10?
still, yeah, okay.
Is it made of tin?
Yes.
Does it become perfected?
I mean, that's another
Even
question,
if you start passing it through.
right?
Mhm.
But yeah, so people bring their problems either to Isabelle or to Warner, depending on who they think will give the answer that they want. And there are definitely some, because I imagine Isabelle is probably more rough country justice, like, you got, just deal with it, where Warner is like, bring me evidence, I want this. And when Warner hears stuff about, well, so-and-so said this thing and so-and-so said this, Warner's like, no, I don't care about this. Go away. Like, somebody needs to bring me evidence, somebody who actually saw something. And that's when people will, like, swing over to Isabelle and like, listen, we can't agree about what you decide. How do we solve this? And I think that's right up Isabelle's alley. Yeah.
Yep.
And while also doing that, I believe Purgatory Bluff has a record number of storms for the year. You just be thunderstorms all the time.
It do be like that sometimes.
It do be
Sometimes.
and so lots of visits from Alfoth, and it quickly starts to take that shape of he is visiting you as opposed to you visiting him, and definitely a back and forth, I think, in terms of favors and essence. Not that you necessarily need Alfoth to do a lot of stuff, but there are some occasional things where, hey, this kid got lost.
Influence is a lot different than spellcasting,
Right.
so
but it does, I guess that's true. If nothing else, just for the study of stuff,
Yeah, that too.
and getting information. and beginning to build the Tempestary. We're not there yet. But yes, speaking of ephemeral beings, we have a couple different things going on. We'll start with Craig real quick, because that one's the considerably simpler one of basically getting Noel Hill a new place to kind of set up with. I mean, how do you set out? Because obviously you're not to the point of creating another anchor. But do you summon him regularly at all, or summon him at his parents' place and let him like stay there?
It would be sort of depending on him, I guess. I would definitely make the offer that if being there is too close for him, he can come to our place and then see them from there, or I can give him the ability to hang out with his parents from time to time for a bit.
Invisibly and in Twilight kind of thing, not like actually.
Yeah, I don't want to freak out his parents.
Okay, that's what I was like. Let's clarify real quick.
I'm not looking to cause breaking points for nice people.
Yeah, it's like step through the door. Hi, mom. Hi, dad. Grave dirt still on him and stuff like that. And like, maybe not. No. But yeah, I think it becomes like a monthly thing where you summon him up, and he hangs there for a little while. And it's safe for him, and then as the spell ends, then he makes the trek back to the graveyard, because he can, he's a ghost, so he can still haul some ass, so he can get back to the graveyard and be safe again without losing all his essence. Meanwhile...
along those lines, Theo wanted to get sort of a tradition going in town where after church on Sundays, we have like a picnic in the graveyard and sort of pay our respects to our departed people that are living there, and so it's kind of something she was trying to. I don't know that
they necessarily picnic in the graveyard.
Sure, but around it or next to it, or just stop and visit and leave flowers or something like that. But yeah, she would be there all day, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think somewhere in this year we have another cave-in or somebody passing, because let's be honest, it's 1846. This happens. I broke a leg. Well, that you're probably dead. Not necessarily, but so you definitely have an opportunity, and I imagine that it's after the next death of somebody recognizable within the town, not necessarily like unfortunately the miners are kind of faceless shapes to a lot of the townspeople. There's been some of the miners who've been there for a long time, ones like Marina and Furnace, who are known people like Gisela's dad, who've been around for forever. But a lot of the miners come in, they work for a little while, and they leave, like those weird twins from England. As the Guardians, kind of leave after they've shared their knowledge and like, okay, nothing untoward is here, or at least we don't want to see anything, and so they eventually kind of move on. But yeah, the next funeral, the widow Stokes makes the suggestion of, hey, why don't we, just make it a little thing of just we'll go through the graveyard and just talk about people or point them out or something like that. Which Noel Hill and the couple other ghosts. If I remember correctly, there were more than just Elliot and Noel.
I don't think so. I thought you said
was it just the two? Okay, yeah. Noel, for when people bring
that many people in the graveyard,
right? And not every human leaves a ghost, obviously. So, but yeah, and so you have the little visit, and Noel is really the only person who, as far as you all see, seems to get any real benefit about it. Down in the underworld, Elliot gets, remembered and gains a little bit of essence. And, anybody else who had a ghost that went on through. But yes, meanwhile, Legba is being a pain in my ass. Legba is visiting into the Temenos frequently.
Yes.
How often do you think Legba is actually visiting the Temenos?
Weekly, at least.
Gotcha.
As often as he is able, especially in the beginning. And he believes that he needs to synonymize his representation to people so that when their dreams when those tendrils of their dreams touch on the Temenos, as he's walking around, he can have an influence there as well. So we talked about the Crossroads and we kind of glossed over it, but I should reveal to you what Legba is now wearing most of the time when he is adopting his guise.
Oh boy.
Yes, as Perry asked in chat, clothes?
Clothes?
So I'm not going to stand up, I have tails.
That's tails on a jacket for those of you in podcast land.
No, it's a fursuit.
Come watch the YouTube and you can find out.
Also, he now has a special cane with a stylized Rottweiler on it, which I think would be a good choice for dogs for him. And then, of course, because he's taken the classic English aesthetic, he has an opera hat.
This is so good.
Yep.
So, everyone,
that's Legba.
this is what people see when they visit the Crossroads. And this is also, of course, Legba's guise when he is in the astral.
Right. Ralph there's no prop budget. That's just Ralph buying Ralph stuff.
Yeah, I could tell you that.
Yeah. Well, didn't you say you
recently
picked up...
purchased these, or?
I purchased these items on, what day was it in August? Early August. So I should reveal to you all that I've been a little frustrated that there was a request for the props and I had planned and I did this and I was ready and then there was no visits to the astral and I kept hinting at it. We kept avoiding it. There were all kinds of things that could have happened. It's been 2 months, everybody.
Sorry.
It's
Sitting
been
on
2
it.
months.
I've been pretty clear about my stance on the astral.
I know.
You gotta take her there forcibly.
That's right. But we could have visited your own heroes, right?
Yep.
There could have been things. So anyway, I'm definitely going to need to start running a fan in my room because this is quite warm.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how long you're going to last with that, but...
Yeah, we'll see.
But yes. So Legba visiting weekly after taking some time to find it, which actually does bring me to the Diamond Order, who are very curious about this. The idea of, you're going to find Purgatory Bluff in the Temenos. And initially, Lasha, right? Yeah. Who is like, why? There's not a lot. You're not going to gain any knowledge from here. But yeah, we'll go together, and Lasha has experience there, and you guys find Purgatory Bluff, which is it looks much like Purgatory Bluff. The people there are you basically have Warner Enright, you have Madame Robert, and that's pretty much it. They're the only people, like everybody else may be there, but not to any real degree of power or representation. They're walking around as probably rank zeros. They exist and they think they are the real selves and go through a real life. But Warner Enright definitely knows he's Goche, and rules Purgatory Bluff because Purgatory Bluff is his, both in the physical world and the astral. Now, bear in mind, because Craig is making a face.
Theo, as Craig
Sure.
as Theo is making a face,
That's
because
true.
everything about that phrase just rubs her the wrong way.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, what Goetia Warner Enright thinks is not the same thing as what Warner Enright actually thinks. And notably, and we haven't touched on it because we haven't been back to the astral, but Goetia, especially the ones in the Temenos, are little gods. They're all kind of dickish, very similar to the way the spirits are, unless you're like a rank 1 like an F. Warner Enright takes some goetic talking to, wherein Lasha and Legba show up and basically go, you're a figurehead, and here in the astral, now we run this. It takes a couple months of some frequent visits and beating Warner Enright around.
Well, if I can interject briefly, I imagine that some of that is facilitated by Legba having Shadow Self.
Mm-hmm.
So he appears as Legba. So it might influence how much other Goche are willing to talk to him, because he's going to have that influence on them, just as Legba the Goche would.
Right. Yeah. Because everyone mistakes you, at least initially, as the actual rank 4, I think, Legba. Take some time before they realize, this is not actually Legba, but by that time, thoughts about Warner have changed within the town. And Warner isn't quite a figurehead of Purgatory Bluff, but there's definitely a step down in his, I don't want to say opulence, but his position, wherein he becomes much more of everybody's landlord. They don't think of him as the leader of town, but more that the people are in charge of the town. We're the ones who live here. We're the ones who work here. And he may own the land for some of us. Other people have bought the land from him, or, if they're old enough, we're just claimed where they're at. And so Warner takes this, kind of magistrate leader position, or not leader position, but bureaucratic position, while the town starts to take on a bit of new leadership. It's also probably about the same time that Sheriff Isabelle becomes a thing, as people go, we do need somebody besides you, Warner, and things shift. The other thing, of course, that Legba is being very active in doing in the Astral is gardening.
Yep.
And basically, there's a great line here. Where is this? Yes. The flowers of hope and good fortune are given more space and, actively cultivated throughout the town, which doesn't necessarily have a direct physical interaction, but it does keep, when people are having good thoughts about a thing, or like, for instance, when the school is built, which the Maroons, after having built the homestead of the Stokes Moody farm, go, yeah. And it ends, and it's not just the Maroons at this point. It's like, hey, the miners, and because Warner Enright's leading, he's like, we're going to take a day off of mining and we're going to lift bricks and some timbers. And the miners are like, I don't think this is exactly a day off. Oh, no, you're still getting paid. Okay, we're on board. As basically, and it's where the bridge was very much a Warner Enright thing. The building of the school is a very town thing. And that day, which is a couple months after Rilla takes on the school marm position, is a much more communal thing. The miners coming down, both the white miners and the Maroons, and then some of the folks coming in from the farm, because many of them are going to have kids that they're going to send into school, depending on the season and, where the crops are. And so you have effectively a bunch of the men, some of the handier women, building a school. And then you have a lot of, let's be honest, mothers who are like, oh, here, food, you get food, and feeding everybody. And it is this kind of...
That was excellent timing for another power outage.
Somebody grab a screenshot. That's a great pose.
That's a great one. Let's
Hi,
see.
friends.
Hey, you're back.
Oh, you're back. Yay.
I never left.
Oh, okay. Well.
Yep. I'm looking here. Yeah, I didn't even drop any frames. That was just Discord.
Okay.
Just
All right.
froze on our end entirely.
Twitch guys, did
That's
you
fine.
catch all that? Or was I also frozen? As I started making comments about you get food, I was like, nobody's laughing.
You stopped at, there are a whole lot of moms doing, and then reaching, and then you stop.
Yeah, there was a whole lot of mobs, and then you're frozen like you were throwing a frisbee pose.
Yep.
I mean, accurate pose, yeah. Chat, are you still there? Oh no.
Still there.
A bit.
Chris AFK for a second.
You kept talking, but video went weird. Terrific. Thank you, Noctal. I appreciate you laughing.
Not talking about your jokes are very funny.
All right. Well, today is clearly cursed for my technical side of things. And yeah, Chris is going AFK.
My dog has finally stopped barking.
Okay, don't disturb her now.
It's been an hour and 6 minutes.
Wow. Jeez.
Kind of lagging the video. Frozen time for 15 seconds. Okay, so yeah, the video just, for all of us, just kind of froze. So, cool. So yes, there's a lot of moms passing out food to workers, other people. Kids are like running nails and tools around, and it becomes a very, very well coordinated event, which is it's terrific. It's really well done. Everybody is working in sync with each other, and Red and Lasha are back, possibly with Gisela, and well, honestly, any of you who are interested and showing, hey, this is us. This is a situation where we're going to use magic, not because it's necessary, but because here's an opportunity to put this town together. And so there's some little bit of prime to help bump everybody's impressions of each other up. There's a little bit of mind, not quite to the point of telepathy, but actually probably using perfect sympathy, where all of a sudden everybody kind of knows what each other is going to say and do, and it just kind of flows, and everybody gets along, and there's this kind of ant-hive kind of coordination, where everybody just kind of works really well together, and you know they use it as a educational point of, see, this is what we can do, but we don't want to do this all the time, because somebody's going to start to notice, wow, we're really, really all working in sync all the time. Nobody ever argues, and somebody will inevitably notice, and it'll throw everything off. But used in short bursts, this is a terrific way to work things together, and that may even be the thing that kind of nudges Legba into creating the Crossroads and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If it happens slowly, more gradually,
right,
then it won't be something that people immediately recognize.
And yeah, let's see here.
And if anybody doesn't catch the symbolism of creating perfect sympathy and harmony between people in town, Purgatory is the place where people are prepared to go to heaven, and Guinea is kind of like a halfway point. It's heaven in and of itself and a connection to it. So it's definitely Legba's intent. He's trying to turn Purgatory into a place where it is right before people go to heaven. So they die in their minds thinking that this is the best place for me, and I've done the best I could with the people around me.
Mm-hmm. Which actually does bring up also Limnir going, hey guys, this is Atlantis. This is the shit I'm talking about. Everybody working in their decided role, mages assisting, and sleepwalkers. Yes, sleepwalkers. Yeah, I thought I forgot. I didn't forget. Jules
I didn't think you forgot.
Definitely becomes a sleepwalker. And if anybody...
And is it gradual?
Not quite.
As opposed to the, dipping out on an awakening?
No. It's actually more of to your all possible surprise, and with the work of you guys kind of doing magic a little around him, and then Jules doing stuff, and eventually somebody may end up checking out his soul, maybe to see how he's doing, and it turns out that the shard of the abyss does not reside within Mr. Jules. Whether this is something that was he was born this way, which does happen, or how, and it does after a little bit, and especially later into our year, as more and more of the mages have left, and Jules is starting to get clued in on things. Now, actually, this does bring me up to one of my questions for you all. Rilla basically does not have a filter with Jules in terms of magic. He has seen what she went through, knows you all are witches, and she doesn't kind of hold back at all, and starts to explain what she's seen and stuff like that. And I would imagine that Theo is the one who notices first, just because of her interactions with Catherine in the same way. Catherine forgets things when you've explained them. Jules doesn't. And not that you guys ever brew it ever again, but the potion, Jules is able to make it. And through a little bit of discovery and eventually talking to Eggrock when everybody else has left, she's like, yeah, he may be, to use a term that isn't actually real, a fallen magic sorcerer. He is capable of doing and creating rites. Now, bear in mind, one can do the open rites, which anybody can do. It's, you put salt around in a circle, and that's abjuration. There's a couple different things like that that are open rites. These are game terms. But there are closed rites, which one must basically take as a merit, and you spend some willpower, and you're limited. But he is an actual sorcerer. Awesome. And has some actual rites himself that he will eventually, throughout the year, learn from Eggrock, and notably from Benito.
Yes.
Because Benito is not actually a sorcerer in the taking closed rites and stuff like that, but he is a sleepwalker and he's aware, and so Benito and Jules become buddies. Or like, so what's this sidekick sleepwalker gig like? And starts to learn some things. And so yeah, on the surface, Jules is just he does the numbers for initially just Anastasio, but eventually even Warner. And he basically ends up being the town accountant in one way or another. And eventually, if we get there, the treasurer of the town, stuff like that. He's
absolutely.
He's great with numbers. By night, he is a cloaked and spooky sorcerer. Time
to start anchoring spells on him to help him out.
Yep, that's actually true. Yeah. He does have that vibe, which is a thing that Benito does teach Jules about. I don't think that Jules has revealed that information to you all by the time we're going to be picking up. It's probably something more of a recent revelation, especially as he's realizing, hey, I can do these things. And
makes sense.
Eggrock basically gets a Book of Fallen Magic. Not a real grimoire in the way she or you all are used to it, but actually gets a grimoire of ancient spells. And Jules is like, all right, I'll try this one. This one looks interesting. And yes, conjures forth, effectively a demon from a lower depth. And it's definitely one of those, like during the break, it's one of the bigger kind of events where it's like, cool, we did this.
Yikes.
How do we clean up the mess?
Mages! Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I Isabelle, Chris, you're right on page with me. Step into
So
the
I
room.
pull out my gun.
Yeah, it's one of those. What is that? Blam, blam, blam. What is that?
What was that?
Right. And it's like, okay, we're putting that. Yeah. But that is the only one that that Jules actually performs with basically no supervision and without any warning. And he also
comes and asks for help.
well, and notably, he also has that was because they were going through a ritual that they didn't fully understand, and it was supposed to summon help. And that's not the kind of help we wanted. Please, creepy flaming entity from another plane, please go away. And Sheriff Isabelle was like, Sheriff Petrichor rolls up and says, yeah, not my town.
It's Sheriff Isabelle.
Sheriff Isabelle. Yeah, that's true.
Petrichor is not a sheriff.
That's true. That's very true. Cool.
A priestess.
And then, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, Priestess Petrichor. Ooh, which even sounds better. Let's see here. Also, towards the end, basically, as you all stop having minders, because Eggrock is very straightforward with you and puts forth a social contract, which is basically, I do not care what you all do within town so long as it is not abyssal or harms her research. She's very, very straightforward with it. She points out and like says, Guardians, Silver Ladder, they may get pissed at you doing left-handed stuff. I don't care. That's for you all to determine. If you want my advice, I will give it to you. But you all did not sign up. You're doing your own thing. But also, if you do shit that threatens me, she is 100% willing to rip your soul out. And so you can't do that anymore.
Jeez.
Yeah. But again, like, do whatever you want with the town. It's your town. She doesn't have a stake
Don't
in
be
it.
threatening and shit like that.
Well, it's not even a threat. It's a promise.
It is a threat when you say,
It's a promise.
It's a promise.
It's a threat.
Oh yeah, but I know what you mean.
It's-
Yeah, and she, because she basically sets out very, very little restriction, and she's like, I don't care. I will tell you stuff if you ask for it. Some of it, like if it's deeper knowledge or some of the rotes that you guys all acquired, because did you all pick up rotes? I can't remember.
I didn't have any
Nope.
XP.
I grabbed 2.
Ain't gonna get no roads.
Gotcha. And yeah, so she, but yeah, she's very straightforward. It's like, if you need stuff, like I have access to grimoires from here, because she does set up a sanctum. And oh yeah, sorry, her day job is basically she is a historian. And so she puts on this thing for Warner, and I'm writing down the story of Purgatory Bluff. And when Apache tribes come through the area, she goes out to speak with them. And while we're gonna leave that one within the year, but she does mention to some of the wise within the Apache of like, hey, there are mages in this town. Like, they're cool, they're chill, but for the most part, they leave you guys alone, because I want any real interaction with the Native American wise. We'll do that on screen. But yeah, she basically does, go out and speak with them and learn some of their tales and their stories and their history and things like that. And so that is her day job, which dovetails very well with her night job of, being part of the Mysterio. But yeah, then we get into the stuff where, like I said, you guys do without supervision, like Isabelle and Theo going on a hunting trip. When the farmers in the area start complaining and saying, yeah, something got at my cows. Something big. Or a couple somethings, perhaps.
Oh, shit.
And so, of course, everybody goes, Sheriff! Bulls got my cows! You gotta do something about this!
Oh,
And
man.
I don't know. How does Sheriff Isabelle actually respond to that, by the way?
I'll take care of it.
That's kind of what I thought, but yeah. Yeah.
Turns out the fiercest with some dots in survival probably can track down just about anything she wants to.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't have no trouble.
Now, the question is, Theo, do you interject, like, do you have, because I know your idea, right? Is that a, like, as soon as you hear about a wolf, you're like, ooh, I'm on board, or is it a later thing? How do you think Theo does that?
Well, if the opportunity hasn't come up, she would have gone out on her own and got one.
I imagine this is your first opportunity.
Yeah, so she would definitely be on board for heading out and doing that.
Which, now, here's the other thing. Does Theodosius Stokes go out with Sheriff Isabelle, or is this a, hey, I'll meet you out a little ways as, Baba Sarah?
Well, Theodosia may have brought some bandages and things like that. But she wouldn't have stayed Theo.
Right.
It's definitely Baba Sarah that finishes the hunt, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's very much like a, all right, keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Baba Sarah can keep up.
Sure.
Baba Sarah's a little badass, as I understand it. Little cranky badass, I imagine. Well, she's probably not all too cranky. Because she's a protector, but I don't see her as a little grandma, right?
No.
And hunt down the wolf pack. Get one of them. The others are run off.
And I guess, do you have enough dots to make it clear to them that this is not territory for them and that kind of thing? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, life too, shielding, yeah. If nothing else.
Yeah, the only reason actually that she would actually take down one of them is for your request.
Cool.
Because otherwise, just gotta find them and
shoo them off.
Hell, like fucking 1 dot life is capable of it.
Oh yeah. Just like go away, don't come back.
Compelling.
But yeah, what does Baba Sarah do with said wolf?
So the wolf ends up in the sanctum underneath the house, and then a couple days later, there's a mangy-looking wolf that just starts to hang around the Stokes Moody farmstead. That doesn't seem to need to eat or drink or breathe, but looks in all other ways like a tame wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And now by tame
as a permanent guardian,
right? Now my question here is, tame as in like comes through the house, or is just like it hangs out in the fields?
No, it hangs outside the house. It's not an indoor.
It's not an indoor dog.
However, should something the idea is that it's there as a protector,
right? So
should something happen inside the house, it would certainly go in, but otherwise it just kind of hangs around, and it's sort of tuned to Catherine can direct it and Theo can direct it, that kind of thing. So it's definitely like a family protector.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you're making some faces there, bud.
Just wondering what Catherine's integrity is at this point.
Yeah, we're just making her a sleepwalker.
It looks like a wolf, and
normal people can't give directions to wolves.
Yeah, it's not like a
unflinching directions that like.
Yeah, it's not like she can tell it to roll over and stay and shake a paw or anything like that. Right? But it knows that Theo, the commands that it's been given are that Catherine Moody and Veloja are to be protected. So that's the...
Yeah, but wolves don't take commands at all.
Oh, sure.
Well,
but I don't
it's
think...
not a wolf anymore.
Yeah, I don't think Catherine is aware of... Because I think that's probably where it comes up, is Catherine doesn't give it... is probably not even aware of the wolf, other than maybe seeing it in the dark, in the shadow, or off in the distance. Because let's be honest, like, the wolf does not need to be like in the fields. Wolves are fast. And if you put the reach into it to make sure that they're real fast, big fast zombie wolf. Should be fun.
It hangs around in the periphery. It's there and present and would be seen from time to time and stuff like that, but it's not like it sleeps under the porch or anything.
To me.
Yeah. Hun, I got you a pet wolf. No, you don't have to feed it. It'll be fine with the kid. Thank you, Perry. It's an unaware wolf. All right, get out.
That's great. Yeah.
Up and then right back down.
Fantastic. I'm on board. That was excellent.
Yes. I definitely think that's probably a thing that Theo probably gets a little bit yelled at by the Guardians and maybe the Silver Ladder even. Of like, whoa, you are like crossing some lines with what information you're giving to Catherine and how upfront you are about, being a mage. Now, of course, they're like, hey, you're not following our rules, but there is some potential backlash, which you're aware of already. Like the breaking points, the couple times that you tried to explain some stuff, had some big backlash with her, and so we don't do that anymore. But
so Theo's perspective is that she's going to answer any question. She's not necessarily going to volunteer information, but she'll answer questions as openly and honestly as she can without like skirting around the whole breakpoint thing. I think we've established that Catherine knows that there's weird stuff about Theo, but she doesn't think it doesn't have a mental box to put it in.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's, you're going around calling yourself a witch, especially with, these others and stuff like that. And it's gotten to that point now where she's like, yeah, I don't ask questions. I trust, and that's it. Which actually does get us to, because we did gloss over it, the proposal. Because that would have been earlier, sometime after the building was built, if I remember correctly.
Actually, probably right before, like right when we're starting the time skip, because the whole thing with Rilla had Catherine asking some, kind of pointed questions to Theo about like what she desired and like, do you wish that I was like that? And that got Theo thinking. I mean, they've been together, and Theo knows how she feels, and she's pretty sure how Catherine feels, but they haven't really made any promises or anything. So that was sort of the conversation that would have taken place. As there's no church that Theo knows in this country that would marry them, but maybe there's another way to do it that would make their vows be more true, like in a write our vows in the stars sort of way, is kind of how she would try and phrase it.
Speaking of stars,
if Catherine's amenable, then she knows that Gisela has a certain affinity for those types of things.
You have that, but as Ralph is pointing out, there is definitely Mambo stars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The actual priest.
Priestess and voodoo.
Yep. Same-sex relationships are accepted and encouraged in voodoo.
Yeah, I was thinking of suggesting that to you once I thought about it more, because like Gisela is not a priest of any sort remotely.
Yeah. And that would be fine. But Theo's not looking like for a priest to sanctify. She's looking for like a supernal oath, because that's more meaningful to her as it's almost like writing reality that we're now together, almost is how she thinks of it. But having the voodoo priestess do that would be just fine as well.
Yeah. And especially because that's your ceremony, right?
The only issue is that she wouldn't want this to be like, she still feels vulnerable in the town, so she doesn't want this to be like known.
Oh yeah,
so
I don't think it would be public.
That's fine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they helped you raise your house, so I'm sure that Mambo Stars would be willing to help you sanctify this official beginning of your family.
Yeah, so that would be fine.
Yeah, it's entirely up to you. Just mentioning that we happen to have a context where in 1846 you could gain official legitimacy in a specific religious faith.
And it might carry more meaning for Catherine that way. So yeah, that sounds great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I definitely think Catherine is like, hang on, are you serious? And I think you have cloak.
And Theo does the whole get down on one knee thing and stuff like that. She doesn't like, will you marry me? But she's like, will you allow me to bind my life to you? And will you agree to bind yours to me?
Because my issue with the oaths is that, like, that's again part of doing magic on people who can't really consent to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, she's not a sleepwalker. She doesn't.
That's fine.
She does not know what she's doing.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
you do.
Right. And I think that's a very good, like, in-character conversation that you guys probably had. And it's like, not okay with that. And it may be because which actually we were really bad about me bringing this up, but it's 7:30, so we may talk about this when we get back. But is the like rules and regulations by which you all kind of handle your business amongst yourselves, and especially now that Rilla is here, you've got the 5 of you, and it's like, okay, how do we do things? And also, does Jules have a vote? And so some of those kind of questions. But
because doing magic on Jules when he consented, but not really.
Didn't know the degree.
Came back and bit me in the ass. So,
but yeah, I think technical difficulties aside, we're at our halfway spot. So we will take a little break, and then we will come back and we will talk about a voodoo wedding and anything else I may have missed from the time skip. Scrolling through, I didn't see anything else.
Well, the trip into the shadow and the inadvertent follows from that.
Oh yeah. Well, the Twilight, yes.
Twilight.
Yeah. But yeah.
But we can talk about that when we come back.
Absolutely. So, folks, we will be right back. Twitch guys, go get something to drink, eat, stuff like that. YouTube guys, don't blink. And I'm sorry because the video and audio has probably been really weird this episode. Unless it's not, in which case you won't even hear this part. Bye!
See you soon.
Bye. All right, yeah. So let me jump back over here, review some other little notes. There's some stuff that is mentioned, but I'm not going to bring up, like bones. Well, actually, yeah, we will. I guess we will have to talk about that. So yeah, a couple other things that I had forgotten to bring up because they were little bullet points. But yes, Baba Sarah, learning about perfected materials, which actually probably starts with the flute, because I almost forgot. But yes, and learning in the, Diamond Order going, hang on, where'd you get that flute? It's my flute. I've always had it. And explaining what...
It's always been like this.
Yeah.
They're all up in everybody's business.
Ever since my awakening.
They're always trying to ask questions about everybody's shit.
Well, they want to
get out
know.
of here with that. You need to get
They're
out
getting
of here with
payment.
Yeah. They got to share. And notably, asking that and being told what it is brings us to Baba Sarah going, and exhuming the body of Elliot Booth. And
the bones.
Well, fair.
Yeah. He doesn't need them anymore.
Nope.
Yeah, that's a thing that you should probably not tell Gisela about. Just because at this point you're desecrating a corpse and...
He doesn't need it. He's moved on.
Probably best if Sheriff Isabelle doesn't know either.
Yeah, but this is a real person.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, exhuming
Keep the
bones
source of your bones for yourself.
and beginning to perfect them using the Ghost Gate method, as described by Atratus in New York City. Working through that to create a set of path tools, because I almost forgot about that. Notably, because we kind of skimmed over it, and being the Undertaker and Keeper of the Graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
And just being willing to do that service for people so that, it's a helpful thing. The fact that maybe sometimes those bodies don't end up in there and are actually stacked up in her sanctum. No, probably not.
I'm doubtful.
It's by invite only.
Yep.
No, it's not grossed up by bodies. It's the fact that, again, desecrating corpses and sacred graveyards.
And I totally get that that's how Giza would see it, but Theo...
that's how the people who buried them see it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's disrespectful to the families.
Yeah.
And the people.
You'll take the
who
bones
have been
before you
buried.
bury them.
What if
Just
she
take out a
asked
couple
Elliot,
bones before you bury them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
if she got consent from the corpses,
it's true.
right? Wouldn't it be a different situation?
Isn't that the one she sent to hell?
Yeah, no, sent on to heaven.
Freed from his burdens so he could
Indeed.
cross over.
Unpaid.
I know what I said.
Yep. But yeah, for now, canonically, the only person whose grave has been disturbed is Elliot Booth.
Also, just one more point. In Cloak and Theo's defense, he made the choice himself. We just coaxed him into a point where he could come to a realization.
It's not like I smashed his anchor or anything like that.
Nope, you didn't. No.
So yes, perfected bone, path tools, and also a method that you all may use to perfect materials. Which actually brings us to scrolling through, making sure I didn't miss anybody else's stuff. There
is one last thing I thought might make sense to happen during the time skip, which is them teaching us about how to use high speech as a yantra.
That is definitely something that they are not teaching.
Interesting. Okay.
You got to join up to get that benefit.
Exactly that. Yeah, they.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. For them, it is one of those things of they mentioned that it is possible to learn this, and it is definitely something that I'm okay with you guys eventually buying, especially with Legba's existing high speech fluency thing. But yeah, the merit of high speech as a yantra, they do not teach, similar to the rotes that I guess it was just Ash who bought rotes. There were favors exchanged to get those. What they were, I'm not going to worry about. It may have literally been Red saying, hey, let me take a look at your dad, because now this is my obsession, or some there was an exchange.
We also got to deal with the freaky supernal.
Yes, we did. or maybe we'll talk about that momentarily. But yes, that is.
I want to clarify that the way that it has been described that they are approaching this relationship does not endear them to Isabelle in any way.
Right. And they're okay with,
like, these are not our friends.
Correct.
I do not have to put up with them any more than I can throw them.
And
I have forces too.
And that is very specifically their, like, they do not, like, if you are not joining up with the order, it is a very business relationship. And that's, as I alluded to earlier with Eggrock, like, she's like, this is a business relationship. I'm not here to be your mom. I'm not here to protect you. I have information that is available for sale. But that is
okay. But like, specifically, if Isabelle finds out that there's things they're specifically either teaching us, from her opinion, wrong, or refusing to elaborate upon, then everything that they want to know from her is off limits. There are no more favors from Isabelle.
So she doesn't barter favors. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, that's absolutely a character choice. But yeah, because they are very blatant about, like, hey, everything that's you want to learn, it's in exchange, and which actually makes sense for Isabelle. She didn't buy any roads, so yeah, she's like, nah, not my thing. That's cool. So yeah, I think actually so
they don't learn anything about the flute at that point.
Then you guys may not learn about perfected materials, because that is what I was actually about to say. I was going to say, I think the perfected materials and learning about the flute, that may be the realization that Isabelle has of, like,
okay,
this is this exchange, and they talk about it, and you realize that this is how everything is, and that may be the thing where Isabelle's like, all right, well,
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
that's good. I like that.
I would like to admit something now. I'm feeling a little bit of player bleed on behalf of Cloak.
Mm-hmm.
So I had assumed that there would be some kind of exchange, but it would be weighted more in our favor, in part because they're invading our town from Cloak's perspective and demanding information and wanting to figure out what's going on, right? They said they would respect our territory, provided that we respect theirs, and then help them in the event that they can, and an equitable relationship, and all that makes sense. But now I'm getting the impression that in order to gain any help, advice, information, story, education from them, we have to do something in exchange for it.
Much of
and
it,
although,
real
quick, just to provide additional detail. Although it often makes sense from my perspective and Cloak's perspective that there be some reciprocity when somebody does something for you, Cloak assumed that it would, like I just said, be weighted more in our favor.
A lot of what the stuff that I told you is stuff that was basically purchased for your story, your explanation of what was your awakening like. Tell me about your shadow name, or things of that nature. And a lot of this stuff was either free or cheap if it basically ensured your continued survival, or especially from the Guardians. The Guardians are the ones who okay, we're going to have to teach you about soul stones before you discover this yourselves and harm your souls. So there's some of that stuff that, like, they're like, okay, hang on, we got to teach you this right now so you don't go off the deep end. Talking about
all the Nimbus stuff and why you should,
exactly.
rein it in.
Right, or even explaining the concept of wisdom, for instance. Some of that stuff where it's like, hang on, you need to know this, that way you don't harm yourselves or anything like that. To put a metaphor to it, they show you how to put the safety on the gun, point it, and pull the trigger. Actually learning to aim, hold your breath, time on the practice range, all that is the stuff that they're like, okay, no, there's got to be an exchange here. So yeah, they're not completely, like, they basically give you the 101, don't harm yourselves, don't harm others stuff, and after that it becomes an exchange.
Okay.
And which definitely sounds like Gisela was on board with. Like, I'm going to get some merits. I'm going to, this stuff. Theo as well. And I really appreciate Isabelle going, not for me, guys. Nah. Now, a question I want to clarify just so I understand Isabelle's thought process. Is she like, I'm never doing an exchange? Or I got it, don't like it, but I will...
She sees it as a manipulative relationship from beings of different power levels.
So
if
she feels a very
to know
predator prey power differential.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if they request to know something about it, she doesn't have that much. Like she doesn't have that much to bring to the bargaining table, respectively.
Mm-hmm.
So she will fiercely guard them.
Sure.
And make them pay dearly if they really want to know something.
Okay, but so you are willing to do an exchange, but it's going to be something where
it will come out in my favor. Right.
Gotcha.
Is her attitude. Okay. Right.
Yeah. No.
And that probably means she doesn't get anything.
Right. Which I mean, and
so which is fine.
Yeah.
Either way.
Because I actually love it because Isabelle didn't pick up. Actually, did you pick up any XP stuff? Okay. Yeah. Because I know you didn't pick any roads.
Not related to them.
Okay. Right. That's right. Because I think you picked up like locus.
A status.
Oh. Right.
A status dot and a dot invested in the locus.
Gotcha. Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, good stuff. And yeah, Ralph, thank you for bringing that up. That was good clarification.
I appreciate you for providing that response.
Yeah,
it helps me understand.
Yeah, because the goal, like once, especially once you made it at the point now we have Rilla, the 5 of you are like, we're not joining up. They're like, cool. We're going to open up the magical general store. Here's what's available. Here's what it's going to cost you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Then can I ask for a confirmation of what would be required for Legba to learn about Atlantis from the Silver Ladder member?
Yeah, Limnir, free. Sit down, have a drink. Let me tell you about what Atlantis is.
You just got to sit
10
there
minutes
and
of your day.
listen.
Because he wants to learn as much as he can about Atlantis.
Right.
It to him sounds like everything he's trying to achieve, right? Everything he's been told is what Guinea would be, right? If people were there with the Loa, right? This is what it would be. And so apparently this is a place that was and will be.
Yeah.
Legba's all on board to hear about it.
And Limnir is deep in the philosophy side of it, of like, it may not even be a real place so much as it's a being, which and you bring in the voodoo thing and he's like, that's the right concept. Yeah. And you guys have a day about it. And it's kind of ridiculous because it's probably the 2 of you sitting back somewhere cozy away from everybody and just throughout. I think both sides, we have both the witches and the Diamond Order looking over at the 2 of you going, they're just going on. They just keep talking about it.
They're doing it again.
Right.
It's a good time.
Yep.
That's what it is. It's a good time.
But yeah.
That's right, Barry. Stay a while and listen.
That was pretty spot on. Let me jump over to my notes. But yeah. So I think that actually brings us to... because I'm realizing now, Craig, I kind of want that to happen. Oh yeah, I think we may talk about it. I don't know how much of the Coven end up on the trip as a whole, because it may end up being you and Gisela, if it's a transactional thing, and so Isabelle and Cloak may have stepped back from it, and especially because Twilight probably doesn't mean as much to Legba as it does to you, right? So I don't know if Legba would be there when they're teaching about Twilight. Isabelle is probably out because I'll learn that on my own. And let's be honest,
I already got it.
Yeah, Isabelle's got a pretty good foot in the door about Twilight. Though Spirit Twilight is vastly different from
So
death.
what is we talking about?
Of taking you guys for a trip into Twilight.
I don't think Gisela would go.
Legba definitely would. It's a liminal space.
Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
She's still already thoroughly freaked out by the ones that are on this side.
That's true. Well, you're going through the death side. There's very little over on this side. You have the remains of...
You got ghosts.
Yeah, but they're over in the graveyard. That's it. They don't wander about like spirits.
Or wherever their anchors are generally, yeah.
Right.
If we're talking about visiting another state or plane, however it can be conceived, from Legba's naive perspective, he would absolutely go.
That's dope. That makes sense, yeah, because like you said, he's the,
It's
it is
opening
Legba.
a way.
Right.
Yeah, you're into that.
Yes,
He's
that's what he
Liz and-
does.
Intensely paranoid.
Makes sense.
So,
And
yeah, so, which is perfect, because this is when you guys see the other side of Egg Rock, which she basically creates a ghost gate.
Ooh.
Opens it for you guys and says, step on through and enter Twilight. After the bit of book learning and some explanation and stuff like that, and she basically says, I'll open this up. This is a safe place, and for Theo, she can open her mage site and be like, no ghosts here, this is a safe place, and Egrock does actually point out the superiority of using Death Twilight over Spirit Twilight in terms of traveling and doing stuff, because Spirit Twilight there's a lot going on over there. Death side, it's pretty empty. They're the remains of in more established places. You have the remains of buildings and people lingering, but here it's just less of a big deal. And so Egrock sends you both in through the ghost gate. And
Isabelle wouldn't come? Okay.
yeah, I imagine there's not necessarily an animosity so much as a aggressive disinterest.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So yeah, and you guys wander about Twilight for a little while, and then you step back out of the ghost gate, and Theo and Legba Baba Sarah and Legba are looking at each other and like, we left our clothes in Twilight.
Completely naked. As we crossed over, all of our clothes became ephemera. And Theo hasn't learned at that point that she can protect against that, so that was just a little vignette.
And Egrock didn't tell you.
No, she did not. No, but notably when they emerge, Egrock has 2 large blankets ready because she's like,
that's funny.
And yeah, this is 100
First time.
Yeah, and she's got a grin. Benito has a grin. Bear in mind, these two are late 50s. She's late 50s, he's early 50s, and they're Moros. So they she's a Moros. He is a Moros sleepwalker. And so very kind of staid and stuff like that. But they both have this grin, like, oh yeah. Oh yep, they're coming back here now. Yep. Mm-hmm. And the grin and a little bit of laugh, and here's your blankets, and assist you guys in getting back, and
what about your tools and belongings? They just enjoy the prank of wrecking your mage tools or whatever.
I'm sure Egrock prevents that kind of loss. Yeah,
fair.
Yeah, definitely a lighthearted, and she may have even been prepare to get dirty, bring your old clothes, kind of stuff. Yeah, it is a very lighthearted prank.
So the next time you do this is how you prevent that from happening.
Right. Yeah, notably.
Don't walk through the gate.
Yeah, just step yourself into it. Yep. Yeah, but
if Theo wasn't watching when Sanite, Mesije, and Cloak were pulling the rocks out to try and save everybody in the mine, and this would probably be her first. Okay, yeah. Well, then, if she hadn't observed this, this would have been her first opportunity to recognize the scars on Cloak's torso.
Okay.
Yeah, because Theo had been there when did Lodestone to keep the dirt off.
Yeah. Just tossing it out there in case it wasn't clear before. So.
And she's shown before, but you'd see it in full on the big gunshot wound in the middle of her chest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
There's the amusement from Egrock and potential amusement from Legba and Baba Sarah. I don't know, but then the little bit more sobering, yes, we both have some fucking history.
Yeah.
The one thing that Legba wouldn't have seen before, though, was the exit wound on her back.
Right.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And that was, probably also a little bit later once the rest of the Diamond Order has left. And which actually means that unless I have missed anything, because we've got some stuff coming up with legacies for 2 folks that we're going to be moving towards, but I think scrolling.
Oh, messing with the supernal.
Oh, yes. Thank you. This is basically a big question that the Diamond Order basically present to the Witch Coven of Purgatory Bluff. And, Red goes out with Isabelle, Gisela, and inspects the thing and comes back, and Red is white as a sheet, and says, some nasty business. And basically puts it to the 5 of you and says, okay, well, we've got some options. One is summoning it up and telling it to get lost and see if that works.
Will that work?
Get lost, please.
Right.
But we ask it to leave as opposed to command it to leave.
Red would probably tell you it's effective.
Isabelle pretty much laughs in your face.
Yeah,
Just
that's true.
nice
Because that's true. Because you had ruin yelled in your brain. Yeah, it's definitely one of those. Well, Red says we can ask, we can tell either way. And this is one of those little free education things. Supernal beings do not think and act and feel the way people do. And an emphasis on they don't have the same kind of emotions. They're not thinking beings the same way we are. They are what they are. You can ask it, you can tell it, you can cajole it, you can come at it from a billion different ways, but if it doesn't want to leave, it's not gonna leave, because that's just what it is. But yeah, so it brings up, we can do that. We can see if there is some, trial that, you can go through to try and chase it off, and earn it, a reprieve. But, Red mentions, it's not liable to be amenable to that. It has a job, and it is part of the Exarch's entourage, in not a like closeness thing, but part of their army, and so it's not liable to be into that. So the other option is destroying the thing, which sends it to the abyss, which weakens the supernal, which nobody likes.
And Theo's like, and that's bad.
Very.
That was my first option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they can be killed.
Yes. And one of its power with, kind of looks around, we can handle all together, summon it forth, and destroy it. But
and just in case it wasn't clear, there was a question mark on Theo's. That would be bad.
It would be bad, yes. Anything that destroys the supernal weakens the supernal, strengthens the abyss, which is already an infinite thing of emptiness. So it's like adding +1 to infinity, which, whatever, but it does detract from the supernal and reality itself.
But it does protect our people.
It does. The other option, besides talk to it, destroy it, is to counter its every move. Frustrate all its attempts, figure out what its goal is, what it does, and frustrate it to the point that it can't continue here any longer or is rendered impotent.
Can't you just bring something bigger?
Potentially. That is the issue with fighting the Exarchs. When you think you have the upper hand, they pull a gun out from behind the counter. So,
what it does is wreck things.
From
we can't be there constantly all the time to stop it from collapsing the mine tunnel.
No, but we may, and kind of looking at actually Gisela and Theo, it's like we may be able to lay enchantments upon the mines to frustrate or weaken or guard against its attempts to cause havoc.
It'll take some time, but I'm pretty sure I can make the mine like exceptionally stable.
And there's a grin from Eggrock and says, yeah, but then can they continue to mine? We'll have to be very careful in how we do this, otherwise.
Yeah, that's true, right? Like we
They
don't
won't be
want
able
to
to get
shatter.
the silver out because it's solid.
I never even thought of that. Like if I reinforce the mine, then how do they mine? Because they'd be destroying pickaxes against what would end up being unbreakable rock or
super
something.
hard diamond walls.
That is tricky.
Yeah. And without dragging it out in too long in character, is there a specific resolution that you guys, and this is one of the things where I'm very excited because you all can just put it to an out of character vote, however you want, the end result to be. We can decide afterwards in character what everybody thinks. But I also have because Rilla's here, I can be like, aha, I can, clear a tie.
I have to say. I mean, I like the summon it up and convince it to leave, do its trial option, if that would work. But
Can't we just start blasting if it doesn't
with the
cooperate?
backup plan of just kill it if it doesn't want to go.
Two voices.
I don't fully understand why it would be bad to just destroy it, but
Yeah, from what I'm hearing, it makes something that is already impossibly strong stronger. But saves our people.
Wounds reality, but it is a drop in the bucket, hopefully.
Cloak thinks of destroying a supernal being, or let me say this first, I'll preface that by saying, Cloak thinks of a supernal being that does bad things as like a Petroloa, right? It has aspects. It has inclinations. And so we're imposing our own moral perspective on their actions and choices, and that's a problem. So it's hubris in and of itself, lowercase h hubris, from Cloak's perspective, from Legba's perspective, to suggest that this is a bad thing, although he wants to avoid any further harm or ruin caused by this particular entity. And then having interacted with a supernal being finally, right, and thinking of it as Guinea, right, he is, and talking about Atlantis in this point, he thinks that destroying one would be a horrible thing to do. So he's highly in favor of either asking it to leave nicely or scaring the shit out of it. Because he could use intimidation. He could enlist supernal assistance so that the force of our collective presence would be high enough to perhaps influence it to go somewhere else. But those are the approaches that he's okay with at this point, and at his state of wisdom. Having interacted with him before, having achieved fluency in high speech, and his orientation to the Loa such that, or to the supernal and the Loa, he would think that, hey, I'm down to get it to leave in all kinds of different ways. Be nice, be mean, but if we start being violent to the supernal, he's out. Like, was not going to help harm a supernal being.
Sure. And there's some in the Diamond Order who are in that same camp, where it's like, that's, specifically the Guardians. They're like, nah, we're not destroying some stuff. So, but it does sound like a lead in with, all right, we're going to try and convince it to leave.
Yeah, see, I like that as Gisela gets to summon a supernal. It's a real nasty one to start out with. Mm-hmm. And then, you get to do its trial.
Yep.
Good luck.
So, no die rolls required. We'll just continue this narratively, which is it shows up when summoned because you've got two Acanthus, who can definitely summon it and work together. And you guys summoned it out to the Hallow, or, some ways away from town. And basically it shows up and it goes, you want me to leave? Cool. The mine will die. The silver will run out, and this town will starve.
Why?
Because I restore the silver within the mines. I make new silver veins. Every time I break a limb, every time I snuff out a life, more silver returns to the mines.
Are these guys capable of lying?
No, they speak high speech. So it's very, it's,
Well,
yeah, I guess technically with high speech fluency. But
yeah, they can absolutely lie in high speech.
right. That's it. No, they do not lie. That's me, kind of leaning into they're kind of fey-ish, but yeah, it has no reason to lie, because it, in this case, yeah, it's like, no, that's what I do. That is my.
Legba then turns to Gisela and asks, "When will the silver run out? If they are to leave?"
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
pull a card and see.
Oh, that's actually true. But yeah, you've got maybe a year, maybe a little bit more than that before the silver would run out. They've already abandoned a couple different, tunnel shafts and stuff like that because that's out. And that's happened before where, probably within your recollection where there was just no more silver to find, and things got a little tight and everybody was a little worried, and they made some exploratory stuff, and oh wow, here's a whole bunch more. All right, we're good, guys. And on they went, and a little while later there's another collapse, and somebody else got hurt or injured or died.
Legba says, "If this being is asking us to trade injuries to the town folk for continued silver, I would be surprised if we couldn't find a better deal from someone else."
Find someone else who will give us silver?
Yes.
Without breaking our people's legs and killing them?
Yes.
We have a year?
We have a year.
Cool. So yeah, the swirling being of entropy effectively gives you guys the middle finger, and says, "Send me back." And Red kind of gives you guys a look. It's like, "We're up. Yep. Okay."
Yes, without harm.
Yep. And yeah, away it goes. And yeah, you guys return to the mine, check it out. It's gone. Entropy is just not there. There's a little bit of a better feeling in the mine. Actually, of note, Isabelle, if you go in, the nasty, snarly, corpulent mine spirit hasn't changed dramatically, but does look a little bit more cleaned up. A little less, eating bones and more of, greed. Little less Balroggy. And that was about 6 months ago. So, pick up with a voodoo ceremony. And
Hell yeah.
Yeah, which I think, just because I think it is appropriate, is the last, Red is going to be here for this because he kind of likes y'all, and this is him and Limnir probably. They're going to get on this barge tonight and head out of town, and they're done. And they're going to leave Egrok here. But oh yeah, there's a proposal. There's this wedding coming. Oh yeah. I mean, it's Red. Big Red who's like, oh yeah. Red is going to bring drinks. Red's going to, it's going to be a small thing, but Red's going to take care of the party. And kind of see you guys off. But yeah. And I don't know if we want to go over the actual ceremony or, but yeah. Led by Mumbo Stars. I don't know if Craig, did you prepare any vowels? Actually, hang on. Backtrack that. Okay, yeah. Backtrack that.
Any vowels?
Vowels. A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y. Thank you, Chris.
A-U.
But actually, I did just remember.
A-I-O-U.
Why?
Cherry on top.
Thank you. You all have a good night. But come back to the little pin I put in it. Craig, what is your domain set up for spells? Did you have an idea of how that is kind of oriented?
I think I need a little more context. So maybe we can talk about that offline.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
This is the most OA exchange ever. Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, actually, I think we may just that way we don't have to dig up a appropriate voodoo ceremony and walk through anything. We basically pick up at the end of it, if that's good with everybody else, and we have a moment of like,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it's effectively the witches, Valosia, Jules, Red, Limnir, probably Egrock. Question is, actually, I guess I should backtrack because I'm making some assumptions. Is Legba there and is Petrichor there? Or Isabelle and Cloak?
Ooh, Cloak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ungon Cloak is there.
Sure.
For sure.
And Chris, is there any... Yeah. And I didn't mean what appearance. I meant, is the body there? But yes. Ungon Cloak being
definitely.
there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, I have to share this from chat. Ald Griffin says, exchange of vowels. Theodosia stutters I. At Catherine School's E.
Yeah.
I love you all.
It's so good.
Yeah. But yeah, basically we time into the reception, probably held in the Moody Stokes home. It's small,
Sure.
it's cozy. Red has carried down a big barrel of probably just beer, or something similar. And it's quiet. It's both the celebration of, hey, it's a wedding. Everybody loves a wedding. But also for Limnir and Red, it is the goodbye, and a last like hurrah for them. And for the two of them, it's, hey, the last time you want to learn some Theosis stuff or Acanthus stuff, we're here. But at this point, you guys have pumped them for all the information that they're worth, or you've got, or Isabelle's made it clear, nah.
I want all the information.
Right.
If you
Very
think
sad
there
to
are
see Red go.
if you think there are things that I should know, you are welcome to tell me.
I love that so much. Yeah, you can tell me whatever you want, but I ain't buying nothing. But yeah, and so we have this nice little setup, and it's been a year, and you all have kind of expanded your knowledge a little bit, though it has become a little bit of a frustration, especially after some of the knowledge that they've given you, that like the town is out of mysteries, especially getting rid of the supernal being 6 months ago. Any of the weird shit that was happening is gone. The wolf that follows Petrichor is still there, and at this point still haven't actually had a proper summoning of it, if I remember correctly, right?
No.
Right.
Because I don't have life 3 yet.
Sorry, bud.
Asking innocent questions.
Yeah. No, I realized I was like, oh shit. Yep. But yeah, so a lot of the mysteries that remain are outside, which is actually, kind of Red's commentary, and he's trying to figure out, what are you all, looking for next? Which is also my cue to remind you all of, more mundanely, but the potential murder within the mine, and whether or not that's worth looking into. There is the book that has a bizarre series of directions that starts wherever you want and just goes, which is
third
probably,
star to the right and straight on until morning, basically, right?
Exactly. And is probably the biggest thing that the Diamond Order want. I was like, oh yeah, can I have a look at that? And I'm pretty sure everybody's like, nah.
Nah, bruh.
So
You better pay me for that
ours.
shit.
Yeah, and they definitely recognize, like, especially how much their eyes light up with, like, it's a treasure map written in high speech. Yeah, we'll give you. And
Yeah, we got
they would need
half
to
a
offer
dozen of
something
those
of,
back in New York.
They would need to offer something of profound value.
Yeah, it's like, what you got? Nothing worth
You want
of
to give us
this.
some soul stones? You gonna give us soul stones?
bring
We'll let you take a
piles
look.
of
You give us soul
grimoires.
stones.
Yeah, because they are very, very curious about that. Also, the other thing that has been closely held to your chests, I'm sure, is the recipe that Rilla and Jules have. You have discovered they have now split amongst themselves. So they both have halves. They felt that was not necessarily equal, but is appropriate. And Mortimer Bethune didn't like. He was curious, but Rilla was like, "Nah, man, this is mine now."
Has Jules drink it?
No. It comes up frequently, and it's one of those like late night things where he sits there and he stares at his half. He thinks and he wonders, but he's scared. He's legitimately scared. He's like, I have seen a little bit of stuff. I've summoned a demon. I don't know if I want to see more. And he's talked to all five of you. All five of you about the supernal worlds and what's out there and what they look like and how you view the world. And he definitely is kind of sitting in the middle of your little Venn diagram and just like, oh, tell me about this, tell me about that. And he's very curious and he wants to know, but he's straddling the fence, right? Well, I want to know, but it sounds scary. And what if I don't come out right? And especially because when the Diamond Order show up, they're like, okay, so let me tell you about Banishers. Let me tell you about the Harrowed. And so he's, very concerned. And of course, there's the comment of, you may go through, you may drink this and not awaken. Maybe it was that particular event for Rilla that, pushed it. And he's like, yeah, it's just, nah. Not for him. He's going to be back here. He does work actually probably very closely and continues his relationship with Isabelle. And like, hey, let's talk about spirits. Because that is one of the things that are fairly available. But yeah, for all of you, he is a very, very readily available resource for helping with spells. Like, he is absolutely fanatical about, oh, you're going to do a spell? Can I help? Can I watch? Can I, so he's trying to figure out some of that stuff. And you can see it's a lot of, it's the kid who keeps like walking around the pool and like he'll get in the shallow end and then he'll get up and go run over and stand on the diving board and then never mind. And, put his foot in the deep end, but not actually jump in. And yeah, he's just not willing to make that commitment and that jump in and some, getting that trust. Can you swim? Well, I mean, I probably can, but I don't want to. Yeah. But in the meantime, he's a very, useful ally. And eventually he may start picking up merits tied to sleepwalkery stuff. But for now,
cool.
He does not.
Cloak would probably have conversations with him about fallen magic, considering Cloak knows how to practice it himself.
Yeah, well, the open rights at least.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And Theo's pretty chill about that kind of stuff too. She'll answer questions openly, honestly.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I think that's probably his big thing, especially all four of you. Less so Rilla, because Rilla is coming at the magic from a very scientific, very Obrimos kind of stuff, where the four of you have a very kind of, not necessarily religious, but you have this occult background. Yeah. And it's literally religious or in a fallen magic kind of background where it's like there's some precursor knowledge that you all had in some way, form, or fashion, or that you've brought into your beliefs, like for Isabelle and Jean-Paul, where it's like, this is my basis and that I've built my supernal knowledge off of it. Or in Theo's case, I was dabbling in stuff, didn't even realize it, but hey, now there's all this more. So he's very, very into devouring up that knowledge. There was another little plot hook sitting out there.
I wanted to circle back on one thing.
Mhm.
And just during the intervening year, Theo has kind of willfully set herself up as in social opposition.
Oh, yes.
To the owner of the town, which just bugs Theo in a lot of different ways. But she's always pushing and prodding and trying to coax him into being more generous and doing things for the town and really sort of lowering his status relative to everyone else that's in there.
Right.
So she's always, whenever he's got a new idea, she's always there to, be a voice against it kind of thing. Almost as a...
Not necessarily against it, but to nudge it to a more equitable...
equitable. She's definitely pushing things to be a lot more equitable. And
yeah. And actually, yeah, that's a good clarification, because I'm curious, does Sheriff Isabelle get in politically, or is she just like, I'm here to guard, or is she politically active, or does she stay out between the two, political parties, for lack of a better term?
I don't know.
We'll come back around.
Go
ahead.
Well, so the thing I had been considering was Isabelle's own sort of social campaign, subtly against the Indian rights, and that is to essentially trick. What's his name?
Ike.
The son. Ike. To trick Ike, or to set up a way in which Ike becomes interested in her.
Oh.
And just absolutely manipulate the fuck out of him
to
in
what
every
end?
way. To the end of he's eventually going to have the town in Isabelle's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Warner in, right? That's not a young man. And B, if it's like that self-preservation of like, if he's going to be in charge, then I want to make sure that at the very least he's not going to fight me.
Okay, so to the end of just basically getting in his good graces and or having him even follow her, or
yeah, more of setting up in a way that he will think that she is allied with him.
Gotcha. My main point was to make sure not going for a marriage proposal kind of thing, just politically aligned.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. The thought definitely crosses her mind, and has in the past already.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I know I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Marry him, get his money.
Right.
Yep.
Men will hand you their wallets.
And for Gisela and Legba, why do I keep doing that? Just picking. Some people get shadow names, some people don't. But do they get in on the political arena? Because I might have to write down some notes.
Gisela does not.
Neutral territory.
Well.
Thought you were German, not Swiss.
Cloak's interest is in people making choices that lead to better outcomes for everybody and themselves, right?
So probably a bit of a third party where it's like, well, sometimes I lean this way, sometimes I lean that, and but
yeah,
always.
I mean, sorry, I'm interrupting you. I didn't intend to. I was going to say his allegiance is to Isabelle, right? He's already made that clear. He's loyal, and that's very important to him. So once, within that context, he would be making choices based on what's going on.
So supporting Isabelle, but, what is best for the town. So maybe potentially going like, hey, well, Isabelle, maybe we need to rethink this, but always as a advisor and ally with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
definitely
that's fine.
from that perspective.
Yeah, she accepts that very willingly.
Yeah, because I don't think Isabelle is a
She's not trying to be a tyrant at all.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't assume that.
She doesn't want to lead. She just knows that she saw this as her best opportunity of a safe and permanent position in society in this town.
Cool.
Makes sense.
I like that. Right. Okay. I'm gonna have to write some little notes here. But yeah, I do love Theo being the like outsider, especially out towards the farms where Warner literally has less influence. And that is also, especially now as the farms continue to grow, because over the course of a year, you've got more people moving in, and the mine doesn't necessarily need more work, but Theodosia and Catherine now probably have, especially after a year, probably have a couple, at least 2 of the Maroons who've come down, and some of these other workers who now work for them, and there may be another house built or something similar to house some of the farm hands.
Not to mention, it's the farms out there continue to get more and more fertile.
Oh, is that so?
I mean, I figure if they've got the exact perfect amount of rainfall,
all right, sure,
and some encouragement to other parts of the spirit ecosystem, it's only it's the least that Petrichor could do to help Baba Sarah's burgeoning homestead and her neighbors.
Absolutely. I love the like, hi, we're mages and we are absolutely cheating to make our town fucking awesome. It's like, yep. No, it's we grow like.
Well, and I think especially it starts after the interaction with the ruin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, if the mine's going to run out, then at the very least, everyone will have food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because let's be honest, if there's enough food, people can sit back and relax and play music after the sun sets, and very post-scarcity, because let's be honest, you don't have electricity, you don't have all this other stuff that you need. Yeah. Set up a proper, idle? What is it? Green rolling hills and stuff like that, where it's just like
idyllic.
Idyllic. Yes.
Ideal.
Mm-hmm.
The adjective's derived from the noun.
Idle
is the right word.
But yeah, okay, I dig that. Yeah, so the storms come, but they're not necessarily always these nasty, gnarly run for the hills storms. Sometimes it's just like, man, it would be great if we had rain. Oh, yeah, huh.
That said, I think it's the Forces Beast boon. I'm really tempted to do that at some point.
Hey, get that Arcana. But yeah, absolutely.
It's the one that like a storm that lays waste, but then, or like a flood or whatever, but then it's everything's 100 times more fertile afterwards or whatever.
Right.
It's like, yeah, okay.
It's like, hey, everybody come on in town. We're going to have a party. Oh no, all the farms got washed away. Man, that's a bummer. But hey, we're going to go rebuild. Oh, and yeah.
Good thing it happened in March, and now you can plant right now directly after it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Aim maybe for February so everybody has time to rebuild. Yeah. But yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's very, very good. Cool. Shoot, I keep coming back there. I swear there was another plot hook. There is. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, there's obviously figuring out what Rilla's destiny is and protecting her, and also, after a year, she's on par with all of you, because there's those easy arcane beats and XP and stuff like that. I still need to make her character sheet, but she's more or less on par with all of you, because prior to episode 1, you guys had little experience beyond some of the basic stuff, and now she's had a year with both the four of you and the Diamond Order, plus her own discoveries and stuff like that. She still is a little on the hesitant side to put her voice forward. You are the senior members, and I'm just the DM, and you guys are the players. But, hey, if there's a tie, then I'll cast the deciding vote. So there is that. And yeah.
I mean, as far as like how the coven operates type stuff, and potential of we've talked on and off screen, I think, about this potentially becoming like a nameless order,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Which Limnir does have you guys down as you are a
right,
nameless. Hello, pupper.
A dog. Behold.
She's standing there just quietly chuffing at me. Hi.
Yeah, I don't think that even after this year that Isabelle's at a point where she's like, here is a philosophy that we are going to do, or anything like that. It's very much like, I'm going to continue doing the things that I like. If there are things that you need me to help you with, then I'm here.
So it is actually, because that's a good way for us to kind of roll towards the end of the episode. You got time, but is basically, does the Witch Coven basically act as kind of a mutual aid organization where it's like, we don't get in each other's way, we don't judge each other for what we're doing, but we're all here to protect and care for the town, and that's kind of your guiding principles? Or does anybody look for like as Chris said, a higher philosophy and an obsession to follow after or anything?
Well, Cloak has a particular perspective that he doesn't want us to turn on like the Diamond, wherein we have primarily transactional relationships. There needs to be a perfect exchange at all times. So he would be offering assistance wherever he can, and definitely be trying to reinforce the relationships he has with the other members of the Coven without a specific expectation that they necessarily reciprocate. Just, he's really concerned about his own actions. Having learned that there were 1,000-year-old organizations of mages who are functioning in the ways that he has tried to prevent himself from indulging in.
And I think that's kind of in line with what Theo's thinking, have regular meetings on what each of us are doing to look for opportunities where we can help one another, rather than and not force that or anything like that. But Theo would definitely be available to help or offer advice, or have a different perspective. So she would try and encourage a periodic meeting of minds, just so that we're all aware of what other people are working on, to see if there are opportunities to lend a hand.
Yes.
I like all that a lot. Out of character, in like, as far as what I have been saying was more along the lines of, Isabelle doesn't have any like project sort of things like for the town, like you're describing with the Crossroads there, Ralph. So contrasting that, I think as people continue to grow, I think there is a distinct, it's not like a standoffishness, but it's like Isabelle straight up doesn't progress as a person.
Oh, okay.
Like Petrichor develops more, there's more like stuff like that, but Isabelle, like, I mean, especially with your mind magic and stuff like that, like Isabelle is still like transactional prey predator relationship, like hierarchy, survival of the fittest sort of stuff at all times.
Okay, gotcha.
Somebody should get in her own Neuros and sort her out.
Cloak is curious.
Yep.
But
and I don't know if this would have any
there
traction
has
or anything.
been an explicit agreement not to do things like that without consent.
And I don't know if this would land with Isabelle or anything, but if that becomes apparent, Theo would sort of lean into the, how would a wolf pack behave? Because a wolf pack does things to benefit the pack and sort of raises up everybody in the pack by doing so. That's sort of how...
And Isabelle very much helps raise up everyone else in the pack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think Isabelle doesn't have any long-term goals of ascension. You know, is kind of happy where she's at kind of thing, or is rather trying to survive. And that's...
Yeah, it's more of the trying to survive.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Very Maslow, right? Because I think we discovered that. Yeah.
Yeah. The hierarchy of needs for Isabelle never seems to go above those bottom couple rungs. Not that we have those terminology in character, but I think between the rest of the coven, it would be obvious at a point. You start putting things together and you're like, oh, okay, hold on. Especially because like with the ruin, with the entropy thing, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll blow it up, that's fine, whatever, we'll keep the town safe, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how I think a lot of little incidents like that go. It's like,
or maybe even saying doesn't have long-term plans beyond survive, and so okay. Which, yeah, basically, I mean, I'll just do this on stream. What's your guys' basic next plot hook you're chasing after? What do we think? Is that way I can
you
start
mean
prepping?
collectively?
Yeah, like what's everybody's thoughts?
Few.
Oh yeah, fire them away. And I mean, we'll give the folks at home a preview of what might be to come.
One of mine was basically, again, just getting more curious because we have exhausted everything here. Packing up and setting out for a longer trip, like a camping trip.
Oh, yes.
And just, so probably taking Rilla because she's the Abrimos. And we're just going to follow the ley lines and see, because it says you get a pull. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, for instance, you've got the ley line that runs in the river. You can follow it backwards and see where that goes, because it may stay with the river for a while and detour off. And then there's also the one that crosses it, that big, for lack of a better term, masculine aggressive power thing from beneath the earth that meets it. And so that one can be followed in both directions and see where they lead. And of course, they don't necessarily follow straight lines in any way or anything like that. So they lead off to other things. So yeah,
basically just picking one and walking it. Like, in my head, it's like walking a railroad track.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see where it goes. Mm-hmm. And find something.
Under the guise of going on like a hunting trip or something?
Yeah. Pack up enough supplies to be gone for overnight a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think by this time, because Theo has a soulstone and a domain now, and she's had a confrontation with her daemon. And realize that there's some things to sort out there, and she's not sure how to do that, but she's going to need some help.
Sure. And you know a guy.
And I know a guy.
You know a guy.
Also, the following the treasure map is very intriguing.
Which I'm curious. Yeah, just show of hands, because I threw that in there and I was like, I don't know if everybody's going to jump on board that, especially after the rookery. We already did that. It's a little bit different, but, is that something that intrigues both in character and out of character,
Yes, absolutely. It is a magic spell book that you have shown to Gisela. And she was actually the first one to read it.
To get the little
to
page.
Actually read it. And we need to. It just starts anywhere. Let's go.
A project.
Let's go right now.
Well, Theo would be more like a project for after harvest.
Oh yeah,
For example, she doesn't want to, because you don't know how long we're going to be gone, right? So she doesn't want to live.
And that is one thing that you can kind of trace out and kind of gauge, but not knowing necessarily what terrain you're going to cross. But yeah, because it sends you, like I'll have to do some math later, but it's going to be a several day journey just traveling, besides the rest and camp and stay in that place for a couple days. So overall, it's going to be like a week, maybe 2 out of town. So it will definitely be, one of those things of, okay, we got to prep for this. I mean, you got some magic that'll help, but
Cloak has definitely been interested since he translated it,
right?
Considering that's what brought him to fluency in high speech.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I, Chris, have given idea and consent to Ralph for Legba to, how did I phrase it? Let his curiosity get the better of him about Isabelle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I definitely think may be the thing to happen after, like, okay, well, we're going to poke in and check in on, Baba Sarah's daemon, and like, what's it like in there? Oh, okay, yeah, we got to get that fixed up. And then, well, we're here. This wasn't too bad, or we'll see.
I have a better route.
Oh, do tell.
That would make more sense with Legba's story. So my plan was, if Legba had dropped in wisdom because of something that happened, he would have done it already. So, and thank you, Chris, for reminding me the consent. I'm in character, right?
Yeah,
in character.
Yeah. Right.
Legba's like, look, I got to respect Isabelle. It matters to him to maintain that respect, even if she feels a little differently about it, right?
Right. I just wanted to be clear. Like,
thank you. Yeah,
as
I appreciate you.
Transparency to the podcast as much as to us.
Right.
Like, Ralph's not going to just like go diving into my character's soul without me having an idea about it.
Chris has a hell of an idea about it.
Yeah, I want this to happen.
It's an aspiration. It's like one of the best like out of character aspirations I've ever come up with, I think.
Oh, it's real good. It's real good.
Yeah, I also definitely want to resolve the family curse in this next little bit.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Because that's been my obsession this whole time.
You've definitely made some progress, but yeah, you're definitely starting to plateau on it now. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and nobody, it seems, can help me because everyone is like, what the hell is this? We don't know. It's like,
you have to have an obsession as a mage, right?
Yes. It always pulls at you. There's always something. Now, that said, I am A-okay with people abandoning their obsession, especially if there's an in-character event or thing that influences. So, but we need to jump back real quick. Oh, go ahead. You can finish your
sorry,
sentence.
I was just going to say, because I had completed, Isabelle had completed the obsession of becoming part of the spirit court.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the no character growth or whatever sort of thing that I was touching on, I was wondering if it just could be blank for a little while.
I think it totally makes sense that there was a blank, and it may even be something that really agitates her, to have nothing to focus on. So that might be a thing.
I was going to say Cloak could notice that and notice that no one else in the cabal is like that. And
that's good.
It's like a barren field in this sort of analogy, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So let's pause that real quick because I realized Ralph was like, I have an idea in character, but never actually got back to that. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the idea in character is his legacy is all about this. His legacy is all about trying to understand what motivates people, and then acting on that in a way that does not conflict with his commitment to wisdom. So upon him, establishing his legacy, then it would make a lot of sense to him to try and understand Isabelle from the perspective of her dreams. He's already reached into Theos Oneros through dreams, and he's going to become a person who, as a consequence of how he's sculpted his soul, be a dream reacher. So he would definitely do it at that point, right? It would make sense to him. It would no longer be, I'm, trafficking in possible acts of hubris or conflicting with the arrangements he had. Now, at that point, it's his responsibility to try and help people. And then once as you've mentioned, Chris, once Cloak recognizes that Isabelle still seems to be functioning from the same perspective that she described to him a year ago, and she doesn't have an obsession, he would think, oh, there's a problem here, and I need to at least get a glimpse of what it is.
There's a supernal blockage. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to get in there. We're going to clear it.
I got to do something. I got to at least know what's going
taking
on.
a,
If I'm
taking
not
a
going to pull
second
it out, at
shadow
least got
name
to tell
called the
her.
Plunger.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yes.
I mean, we can stick
They're
with
just
the-
really into cliff diving.
we
that's
can
all.
we can stick with Wrecking Ball and just knocking down walls. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, that's good stuff.
But yeah, that would be his approach.
Sledgehammer is good. It's a good
Mhm.
shadow name.
That's a good point.
That's true. Yeah,
Let's do
not
that.
Wrecking Ball, Sledgehammer. Thank you. Knocking down walls. Good stuff. And yes, as chat reminded me. Oh, also, hey guys, Valosia.
Hey,
I need more
hey,
dots in Prime if I'm going to make this progress in that.
Yeah.
But just
You
as
got a Theobrimus living with you.
well, that there's an issue there. Theo's vice is pride, and she doesn't want anyone to help her. And part of the ground rules of Rilla being there was that Theo would have a private conversation to say, like, Phlogia's off limits. There's a box around her, and you don't go into that box. Supernally speaking,
Yeah, which does bring up Rilla's focus. She has the 2 dots in Prime, but she doesn't touch Prime any further than that. She gets into forces a little bit, and then starts to dabble in matter as well. Because she's coming at it from a very, very science side of things. And so I'll figure out where her
I mean,
dot over-
from there, obviously, she needs a couple dots of life.
Probably not. Well, shit, she might actually. But yeah, she is definitely viewing it as a scientific side of thing, and she may
Proper alchemist.
and she may very specifically get into like she's going to pick up a dot in like everything because she wants the mage side of it, and different things like that, where she is a very generalist mage. Mostly that way I can also keep Rilla in a position where she can assist and but doesn't spotlight anything except maybe Prime later if that falls behind, because having channel mana is really useful. So cool. Rilla Bird.
I mean, at Gnosis 1, you can have 3 Prime, or sorry, Gnosis 1.
Mhm.
You can have 3 Prime and 2 in all other Arcana.
Yep. Yeah. In her case,
And that is just as terrifying as a Master of 1 Arcana.
Yeah.
I dispel that. I dispel that. Because all I need is that one freaking dot. But yes. Good stuff. Absolutely. Well, no, we did have some die rolls. We got some soul stones set up. Cool. That does mean next week we will definitely come back, and it sounds like we're probably going to need to do some Oniro stuff first before we head off on treasure map time. May happen. Well, it depends. We'll see what Ash is doing. But Rilla and Gisela may go off on a leyline trip at the same time, or I don't know if she's going to get in on the Oniros dive, because it's mage, and no, we can't have everybody working on the same thing at once.
We all have separate obsessions.
Indeed. Yeah. You guys know how, like in D&D, where they're like, no, you can't play a really weird race? Yeah, you might want to talk to your players in Mage about, no, you guys need to get a group obsession. Oh, shit, which reminds me, that was the thing I wanted to talk about, is having a
Like a
coven obsession. Yeah. Anyways, oh, no, hang
I like
on.
that. I don't know what it would be right now.
Yep, hang on.
How about kill him?
Kill him. Oh my god.
It's a first time chat.
Remove.
Remove. Go away.
Hi. Thanks for coming just as we were ending stream. All right, but yes, we do need to talk about that. We'll talk about that as soon as we hang up. Well, no, we're not going to hang up. Bye to Twitch. Thank you all for joining us, hanging out. And as always, if you want to join us, we highly suggest it. It's Discord. Our Discord is www.yeetinto.space. Come by, come hang out. It's a great place. You don't need to know anything about Mage. You don't need to know anything about TTRPGs. You just want to hang out with really cool nerds. Yep. Post bird pics. Share your fur babies or unfurred babies if you're into reptiles, or, Sphinx cats. What are they called? Hairless cats. I'd get there eventually.
Sphinx.
all that kind of stuff. We love to hang out with you. If you want to support us monetarily, that is patreon.com/occultist but that's really long. So just www.staylucky.club and hang out there. Also, this is my little shout out. Hey, I'm going to be up at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia in like a month, 2 months, December. So if you plan to be up in Philadelphia for PAX Unplugged, say hi on Discord, and I'd love to kind of meet up. I think my Friday night is like completely empty and devoid of running games, so love to say hey. I will probably try and go play some games, so yeah, we'll see. Finally get into a game of Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
I'll be on board for that.
Yep. And yes, I am running stuff.
Gotta do it.
I will be running a D&D game, a kids on bikes /broom/teens in space game, and a game of Alien, the RPG. So yeah, that'll be very cool. You can sign up to be in my games, but that's not available yet. I think it'll be actually at PAX where you'll do that, but more will be released later. I've seen some of the promo stuff from Gehenna Gaming folks, and it looks super cool. So
yes, Alien like the movie.
Yes, Alien like the movie, and it plays very much like you're in a movie, which is very cool. And I think we have an unreleased one-shot pre-gen game that's what I'm going to run, because I don't know the game well enough to create a thing. But D&D, yep. You're gonna be some mystery machine folks. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. I think that's all our stuff. Thank you all, and y'all have a good night. Ralph, can you give us a good hat tip here?
Aha!
Y'all have a good evening. Bye bye.
I say.
See you next time, y'all.